Hello everyone, here is my review of the Böker Steel Mariner, supposedly a dive knife, but I actually used it as a tactical EDC, utility and personal security knife. So I didn't take this knife swimming or diving at all. I would have liked to, but I do not have the time or the budget for that, and probably not even the courage, if I'm being honest, so take that into consideration. So the Böker Steel Mariner comes in a very nice aerated sheath, Kydex sheath of course, 1.5 millimeter thick Kydex, which is plenty enough for such a knife, and which is extremely appreciable given the price of this knife, which is around 70 to 80 euros in Europe at least. Probably cheaper in the US, or maybe the same price, I don't know. But for such a price, such a nice Kydex sheath is appreciable. The retention is excellent, and the sheath is actually ambidextrous. So I could turn the knife, slot it in, and it would still work perfectly fine. That is really great. The aerated slots here allow for mounting options, I guess, for diving on a diving suit or equipment, but it also aerates the blade and prevents the buildup of sweat and condensation if you wear it close to the body during the summer or during heavy exercise, for instance, which is often my case, and that is a very nice addition to any sheath. I find that it reduces and controls rusting and the buildup of sweat, and it's quite nice. Let's talk mounting options. I personally added an Ulti-clip, the 2.2 version, slim version, and it does the job perfectly. I very much like this brand, Ulti-clip. It's excellent. All their products are very nice and they fit my use cases perfectly. So Ulti-clip for the sheath. Actually, the sheath comes originally in this very nice box, as well as the knife, of course. And this box contains foam slots for the knife, the sheath, and the mounting option that Böker provides originally. And that mounting option is some sort of U-clip / Tech-lock alternative. And you've got two mounting screws and this kind of plastic J-shaped hook for a belt, which would be perfectly functional. You wouldn't have to take the belt off to mount this loop here, and it seems robust enough. It's just that it's a bit bulky and it requires a belt, and I usually prefer a simple Ulti-clip for carrying, of course. So yeah, that's the sheath. Very nice, especially for the price. Let's talk knife now. The knife is made of 440C with a 4-inch or 10cm blade. The grind is excellent on this double-edged blade. It's quite sharp out of the box, and the geometry is perfectly adequate for cutting as well as piercing. Those serrations are symmetrical, very well done, easy to resharpen should you need to, and perfectly functional. They cut very well, and they're originally, of course, thought out for cutting net and cordage and rope should you need to do that in a marine environment. And they are very well designed. I very much like them. The guard is very cool, full steel, so very protective, and not too aggressive on the thumbs or on the fingers. Actually, the corners are pretty rounded, nothing drastic, but enough to provide a measure of comfort. So perfectly usable, even as a utility knife, very appreciable and very protective, and secures the hand quite well should you need to stab or pierce anything. Again, Böker, made of 440C steel. I found that this 440C steel is just adequate enough for daily carry in a non-marine environment. I had some rust spots, especially after running and cardio work, wearing the knife. There is definitely some rust spots that I saw from time to time. Nothing that wouldn't just rub off with the nail or with a slight steel eraser or something. So nothing drastic, and this coating is very effective, but on the edge I had some very superficial rust spots. Nothing drastic again. Not a deal breaker for me. When it comes to the handle, we have two slabs of thin G10 with some speed holes, as one might say, and of course a full tang construction with textured pommel here, or end of the handle. Perfect for a tactile and tactical place to remind you of your position on the handle for reverse grip manipulations or support hand assistance and gripping. And it's quite nice, not too aggressive again, but prominent enough that you know where your thumb is and where the knife is, and it's perfectly adequate for me. The screws do not rust. I didn't clean them, I didn't do anything, oil them or do anything to protect them, and the hardware really doesn't rust. The handle doesn't rust either, and that, in my opinion, is due to the great titanium coating on this. It's a great coating, it protects the blade quite well. Slight rubbing off here on the tip when it rubs off on the sheath, I guess, due to the friction, but nothing drastic again. This spot doesn't rust because each time you use the knife, the rust will just get rubbed off. So not a problem. Would be more of an issue on the handle, but it isn't, because the coating, again, is quite high performance. So really no issues on the handle. Very satisfying in my opinion. The knife, again, is extremely thin, and that makes it extremely ergonomic to carry. And I cannot stress that enough. This knife is very light. Of course, it's made for diving, so it should be. It's very light. The 440C steel isn't the densest steel ever, and the G10 is, again, aerated here, so very little mass to wear you down and slow you down. And again, the Kydex sheath is also a speed hold everywhere and quite thin. Add the ulti-clip, which is just a bit of spring steel, and you've got an overall very light setup. Very, very nice to carry. Extremely flat. Again, look at that. It's quite flat. Even the handle is just as flat as the sheath, and yet you have great prehension, a very secure grip due to the guard and due to the overall height of the handle. Even if it's not very thick, it's quite high, and that feels the hand very well. The handle is just long enough to allow for a saber grip, or to just palm the end of the handle should you wish to gain a couple inches of reach and maybe a slightly more fencing grip if that's what you prefer. The proportions are very good. I really cannot stress enough how ergonomic and nice to carry this knife is. The proportions to me, for my build, which is not very tall or very muscular, the proportions are perfect, really perfect. Overall, this knife to me is really excellent. The serrations make it an excellent utility cutter. The grind is thin enough to allow for tactical slashing through cloves or nylon. And of course, the thinner the grind is, the easier the resharpening will be. And for a double-edged knife such as this one, it's a good point in my opinion. The tip is thin enough and double-edged, of course, which will give it excellent penetration capabilities, but it's also leaf-shaped, if you will, and not too needle-like, which will reinforce it and give it some strength. I do not need a needle-like tip on a general EDC carry knife. I would prefer a slightly more robust tip such as this one, and it's really perfect. The guard is excellent, the handle is excellent, the hardware is robust and doesn't rust, and the overall ergonomics are very good in my opinion. So I cannot stress how much I like this knife, especially for the price. I mean, 80 euros max is just excellent from Böker. Really, really nice. Even the box is cool. I mean, it's a nice box. It feels premium. and the knife feels premium-er than its price would let you think. So yeah, I can only advise you to pick up one of these should you have a use case for them, or even just for the collection. It's a nice diving knife. It has a unique look to it, not something you see every day, I think. And the original carry option is perfectly adequate. It's usable should you use it sometimes and not every day. And if you wish to use it every day, you can always add an LT clip or some sort of static carry or whatever else you would prefer. So yeah, pick up one of these if you want to. They're very nice. They're cheap, they're effective, they are well designed. I like it. I really like it. Thank you for watching. I hope I made you I allowed you to discover a very nice design from Böker, and I hope it will serve you nice should you choose to use one. Thank you for watching again. Please subscribe. Have a nice day. Bye guys.